Hi guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So quickly here to have a quick play with some paper flowers and kind of layering and techniques with them. Had a request from Tina at Hummingbird Tales. She's got a lovely channel, so check that out. She does lovely videos. But she requested that I kind of do a tutorial on layering up die cut flowers. So I'm going to do that with the Holtz Tattered Floral die. That's kind of the main one I think that people tend to use. That's the one that I've got. Aside from that, I've just got one of the edge strips with kind of various different flowers, which was what I used obviously to do my little felt flowers here. But the kind of more vintagey looking style one, I suppose, would be the Holtz, Tattered Florals die. So this was one that I made using that die. We'll move these to one side and we'll see kind of if there's time to do anything further, then we will. So if I just pop those to one side now. I had my die for a really, really long time before I actually used it at all. I was so disappointed with it, because obviously when I cut my flowers, they were just flat and, did not make very attractive looking flowers at all. However, I did watch an amazing tutorial from somebody else here on YouTube, which just really kind of, made the most gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous flowers using it. I have tried to look for it. I can't quite find what video it was because I saw it probably about a year ago. I will try again, and if I do manage to find it, I will link it below. But this time it's, very, very, very similar to... oops, excuse me, sorry, I just dropped my glue gun off my desk. So this tutorial is going to be very similar to hers, except she was kind of bending each petal and, they took quite a long time to make. And they were very high, the ones that I made using her tutorial. They looked absolutely gorgeous, I have to say. But I thought I would give something else a go, so a slightly different kind of technique. So first of all, what I did was I obviously die cut all my different petals. And that particular die comes with the large style petals, this one. Then it comes with these very tatty kind of looking petals, which are these ones, and then it has slightly smaller ones, these ones here, and then it's got teeny weeny ones which are, oh, don't tell me I've lost those now already. I've only just started the tutorial. Right, which are these, so teeny weeny ones. So obviously kind of to layer the flower up, kind of using a combination of the kind of 4 different flowers. So what I did was obviously cut them from Vintage Book Page, and then I thought what I would do to save me the trouble of kind of having to really manipulate every single petal so much was actually just coffee dye them all. So I just chucked them all into some coffee dyed, water mixture, left them out to dry, and here they are. So they kind of got a lot more texture to them generally, just from the coffee dyeing process, which I really like that. And then what I thought I would do, just to kind of make it a little bit more interesting, I suppose, and make them a little bit kind of prettier and more special, was these I edged with some stuff called Inca Gold, but it was a rose coloured kind of paint. And then this one, I don't know whether the camera can pick this up, but what I've started to do is just use some of the liquid pearls stuff around the edges. And I thought we'll make one like that. So all I'm going to do is literally take a couple of the large petals, and then, I'm a messy crafter. If you watch my channel, you'll know that already. So I fully don't mind getting my fingers in the paint and things like that. You maybe are not quite so messy as me and would maybe have a better technique, really. But what I just did was just squeezed out a dollop there and then just literally with my finger kind of spread it just on the edge of each of the petals, like so. Like that. And that one. And then this one here. So that's kind of the two larger of the flowers. And then we'll take obviously one of the tattered ones and do exactly the same with that. So, you know, and again, I mean, I'm not being careful here. I'm just doing it very roughly, you know, just so as it gets a good covering, really. So there we go. I mean, it's just so that it looks a little bit kind of, I suppose, more Prima-esque, and a little bit less kind of Shabbydabbydoodah homemade. You know, so that's kind of all this stage is for, really. So that's the tattered ones. Then I'm just going to take one of the kind of medium-sized ones, and again exactly the same, just go round on the edges. And again, you know, as with kind of all these flowers, you know, that we've kind of had to play with, it's entirely up to you how many layers you actually want to do. You know, I'm trying to kind of bear in mind that probably we don't want them kind of too fat. You know, kind of bulking your journal out too much. So, you know, for me, this is probably enough layers. And then a couple of the tiny ones, like that. And just exactly the same. Just kind of go round. Like that. Oops. And then the last one, might need a bit more paint. And I mean, I guess, you know, any kind of paint finish would do. I mean, this was just something that I happen to have to hand. But I mean, you could use glitter, you could use, you know, anything you like, really. And it's just all about kind of trial and error, really. Just to try and get something kind of a bit pretty and nice looking. So I'm just going to move this out of the way. Now, what I did next, obviously, as you can see, you know, the coffee dyeing really gives these flowers a really nice kind of textured appearance, you know, rather than just completely flat book page. So it cuts out a huge part of the process. I mean, probably if you weighed it up between the coffee dyeing or the fiddling around with the petals, there's probably not much in it. It just depends which you would prefer to be doing. Now, I've watched loads of tutorials on people using those gorgeous flower making tools for the paper flower making. And they look absolutely awesome, I have to say. Unfortunately, I did go and check some out at the weekend. They were very expensive, kind of 15 to 20 pounds, which I just thought, you know, I couldn't really justify spending that. So I looked around in the kitchen and thought, what could I use instead? So I've just got a couple of spoons here, teaspoons. This round one, kind of very round at the end, ideal for the large of the flowers. Now, this is just some foam, literally just, you know, craft foam out of my daughter's scrap kind of box. So where I've seen other people use their toolkit with the foam mat and obviously the professional tools, and they tend to have one with a big ball on the end and kind of go round the middle of the flower. I'm just taking this little piece of foam and just going round and round here, just with the end of my spoon. Now, I'm not saying that this is quite as good, obviously, as that tool, but, you know, £15 or free from my kitchen. So, you know, that's kind of how I viewed it. Now, they also seem to have a little tool in those toolkits where you can kind of put these lines in your petals. So I've taken my kind of ovally type shaped spoon, which is kind of sharper. And what you could do if you wanted is then just kind of put some lines into your flowers. And as you can see, kind of through that process, it kind of shapes your petals further. So now my flower has gone from being a completely flat book page to really quite curved. Let me check that you can see this. I don't know whether I'm actually in frame, to be fair, because I'm sat down and can't see. So, you know, that's kind of now quite rounded. So you just want to do that again with the other large one. And then, you know, if you get right into the kind of the base of the petal, it really kind of does bring it up, if you can see that. And then, you know, if you want to kind of add a bit more texture, you can obviously just go round, do a couple of lines. And I mean, once this flower is layered up, it really doesn't matter kind of how your lines have been popped in there. You know, we're just doing this really super quick. So that's that one. So I'm going to pop those out the way. And then basically you just want to do exactly the same with the rest. Now, I've been very fortunate with this one that this is quite shaped up anyway. But as you can see, you know, they've gone in all sorts of shapes. So, I mean, I've got some here, you know, that would be a little sort of trickier to do. So they're quite screwed up now from that coffee dyeing. So literally, you know, I would just undo that. And then for these, I would just take, again, my spoon and just go around like that. So I'm not going to use this one because obviously we haven't, you know, pearlised the edges. But on the one that I have, it really didn't need much work because luckily that coffee dyeing had really kind of affected it anyway. But can you see that? I mean, that's really curly now. So I'm just going to move that to the side. Now, the next one is obviously this smaller one. So for the smaller one, I actually used the oval one. Well, I used the oval one when I did my last one, but actually now I'm wondering if this one might have been better anyway. Actually, yeah, I think the round one's probably still working better. And again, you know, you can just pop in just, you know, a couple of kind of lines just to give it a bit more texture. And obviously during the process of this, it really helps the petals kind of come up a bit more. So, and then obviously you can just, again, you know, bring it round like that. You could probably even use the end, to be honest. Oh no, possibly not, because now I'm beginning to tear the flower. But, you know, I mean, it's just trial and error if you haven't got one of those little kits, which, you know, I mean, I just thought were very expensive. You know, and I did look on Amazon when I got home because I thought, oh, perhaps I'd be able to get one on there. But actually, they were similar prices still on there. So, you know, I just think this is kind of a cheap way. I mean, it's maybe not quite so quick because they seem very, very effective. But, you know, I think it does the job. So that's those. And then all you're going to do is obviously then layer them up. So have a look and kind of see what way you want them. Obviously you can see this one's got hardly any text. The one above has a lot of text. Just going to use my hot glue. And then you want to layer them up, again, kind of like when we've done the flowers that we did with the punches. So your petals go in the gaps of the layer beneath, like that. And again, you know, this is where I say you can obviously put as many layers as you like. I'm just going to put this as a layer. So I'm just going to put some hot glue there. Pop that one in here, like that. And then I've got my kind of medium size flower there. Oops. Just pop that in there like that. And obviously at this point, you know, you can really start kind of pulling it up exactly as we did with our punched flowers. And that will give it more texture still. And then we've got these teeny ones. So again, just decide which way round you want them, whether you want the one with more or less text kind of on the bottom. So I'm just going to pop that there, like that, just in the middle. And then just pop, oops, you know, what for me is my final layer. But I mean, as I say, it's completely up to you how many layers that you want to do. There we go, like that. And just such a pretty flower. And, you know, for me, that was kind of a better technique doing the coffee dyeing, because obviously I didn't have to faff around trying to kind of curl each petal, you know. Let me just grab one that I had made according to the other tutorial, because I just want to kind of give you the difference between the flowers. So this was one that I had made according to her tutorial. This is one with the coffee dyeing. Now I have to say, I think I did use more layers in this. So, you know, there are more layers, but it is quite a good deal chunkier, if you can see from the side. So it doesn't necessarily kind of lay flat for your journals. And I suspect, you know, it would kind of then flatten down anyway. So from that point, I kind of think maybe for the purposes that I want it for, this is kind of an easier one to use. And then obviously you can finish it off. This one I've just popped a little tiny gem in there. This one I just popped a little button. You know, so you can pop anything that you want, obviously in the middle, to just finish it off there. Just going to see if I've got any of my favourites, my flat back pearls. So hold on, see whether that would look nice. Yeah, I mean, I always love a flat back pearl, to be honest. So, you know, I'm just going to go for that. So I just pop that in like that. There we go. And that's it. So for me, that's kind of quite an easy way to do the layered, you know, die cut flowers, like the Tim Holtz dies and things like that. So, you know, I think they're really, really pretty. Now I'm just going to check what time we're up to. Right, we've raced through that, so that's all good. Now, obviously in a previous video, I did my little junk journal flowers. I think it was during my actual junk journal series. Now, some other flowers that I quite like doing are these other paper type flowers. So if I just grab some paper to work with. So hold on. And this is where I find I haven't really got any suitable paper now. So just bear with me while I find something kind of suitable, because I want something that's quite thinnish. I don't really want a great big thick paper. Something like book page is just ideal. Let me see if I've got any book page beside me. Oh, come on, come on. Right, hold on. Let me have a rummage through my bag of stuff here. Oh, would you believe it? Right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this, which is just some printed page that I've got. So just going to kind of cut it or tear it down so it's just smaller to work with. Now, what I like to do for these ones is cut some circles from these. So I just kind of fold my page into quarters. Oops, like that. I have to say thank you so much for your lovely comments, people who've been following along with the series. It's really nice to read, you know, when people are actually enjoying the series, because it kind of obviously makes it all worthwhile. And, you know, sometimes you do wonder whether people are actually enjoying it or whether they just, you know, thinking, oh, she's just waffling on again. So I really do appreciate feedback and comments. It's really nice, thank you. Right, so all I've done now is I've just taken a little tiny bit of book page to make a base for the flower. Now, for these, I just use literally some cardstock or paper, whatever I have handy. And we just cut just a round circle, you know, as we have done really for all of our flowers that we've made, just because you're looking for something basically to use as a base. Now what I do, whoops, I just take my flower, my circle, and I just kind of fold it over in half. And then, I don't know how to describe this. Right, take it, fold it over in half, but don't press it. So it's kind of, let me stand up to make sure I'm in frame for this. Right, so it's kind of got like a circle there. And then pinch it in the middle. So the middle part is squashed. And then all you're kind of trying to do is kind of squash it, oops, squash it here, and then kind of press it down. Now, I'm not doing a very good job of describing this, but can you see what's happened here at the top? I've got kind of like a couple of cone shapes. Now, I can't really think of any way to describe this better, really, than I am doing, so I do apologise for that. But basically, you're going to do that with all of your flowers. So you then, your circles, you then get that and kind of glue that onto the base here. Oops. And if I just take another one and hopefully show you kind of again. So you're folding it in, not pressing it at either side, pressing it in the middle, and then kind of gathering it with your finger and thumb at the top, pressing it here, and then kind of squashing it down. So you've got like a base there and a couple of kind of cones at the top, like that. And then you're just going to kind of stick that opposite the first one, like that. And then with your other two, do exactly the same. So again, you're kind of just pinching it in, kind of bringing it together, and then squash them down. I know this is not really kind of, I can't describe a technique that you're actually kind of using for these. Oops, I've now glued it onto my paper. But I mean, I just think these are kind of quite cute to make as a kind of alternative junk journal flower. And then, you know, you can obviously glue this down if it starts coming apart like this did. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It depends really on the paper that you're using, you know, how much they kind of come up. Obviously, this is kind of copy paper that I've just printed something on, so it's not the best. But once you get your next layer, which you're going to kind of glue on top, it will help to hold that down. But I'm just going to kind of glue that here, like that. And then in, and then you've got those two little cones, and then just literally glue it here and just glue it down like that. and then literally you've got the last side left to do. So take it in, kind of pinch it in, squash it down like that, and then squash it. And again, you know, this is not the best paper, so I am going to add a little dab of glue. You know, I really don't always find that I have to. It does honestly really depend on the paper. So there we go. And then you're just going to go to your final side here and kind of glue it down there. So again, just glue here. Oops, and then press that down like that. Oops. Okay, so what you've got there are obviously all your little openings kind of all around the flower. And then I just get, again, I'll just go for flat back pearl or a button. I'll go for a pearl because they're my favourite always. So again, just take your pearl, or you know, your button or whatever you're going to use as the centre, and just pop that into the centre like that. Whoops. And that's it. That's all there was to that. So it was just your 4 circles, and then you're kind of taking them into a semicircle, squashing them in, and then, you know, squashing them in again, if that makes sense. So, I mean, obviously this is one that I've done with some sheet music, and as you can see, it's kind of turned out a lot neater. The type of paper that you use definitely does, you know, have a kind of impact. But it equally, you know, it still looks fine. It still looks quite pretty. So then you can obviously take your distress ink and you can just ink around it, you know, and straight away, I mean, that looks quite pretty, doesn't it? So, you know, that's kind of an alternative junk journal flower that I quite like doing. I don't think I've ever seen anyone else do them that way. And, you know, I do apologise for my description. I found that quite tricky to describe. But I just think they're quite a fun alternative because you don't always want the same kinds of flowers. So these are the ones that I've done previously in kind of another video. And these are just a kind of different alternative. So, you know, they're not, you know, not night and day different, but just something kind of different to do. So that's those. Now the final ones, which let me just check the time. Right, so the final ones obviously are kind of just layering up your shop bought flowers. So these are some of those gorgeous flowers that you get in those tins. Here we go. I talked about these before. These are the Prima flowers. They're those big giant ones. So, whoops, all I've done is literally layered them up kind of in different ways, and you know, here I've incorporated a different type of flower and a fabric one and a centre. Here these are all the Prima flowers, different sizes, then a little fabric flower from some trim and a pearl centre, and then this one, this again, it's all Prima flowers, and I have just literally added some glitter to the edges of each of the flower, layered it up and then popped a centre in there. So what I thought we could do now is I've taken some other flowers. These are not Prima ones. I think they're from Dovecraft, which is a brand we have here in the UK. I don't know whether you do elsewhere. Now, if I show you, these flowers come like this. I think they come in like a pack of 20 or something like that. And they tend to be the same colourway. So you might buy an aqua pack or a kind of mauve pack, things like that. So what I thought I would do is, while I was coffee dyeing my Tim Holtz tattered flowers, Tattered Florals, I just quickly then coffee dyed some of those flowers. So as you can see, again, it's just automatically given them some extra texture, which is just lovely to work with and kind of, you know, just gives them something a little bit different. So then what I thought you could do is obviously get a stamp. I love script, so I'm just going to take the script stamp, and again, let me just get something to kind of lean on. So I'm just going to take the bottom of my script stamp, which is this kind of small script, and I'm just going to stamp now, oops, across the flowers. So, oops, again, no uniformity to it or anything, just literally, just, you know, kind of making them look really vintage and yummy, really. So, you know, it just kind of gives them a little bit more interest, I suppose. Oops, stuck now on my stamp. Just go a bit more over that. And I mean, as you can see from the coffee dyeing, they've taken on different kind of colours. You know, some are really dark, some are kind of paler, but that's nice, you know, that's quite interesting, isn't it, to look at. So if I just do those for the moment, and then again, just like we did with the kind of Tim Holtz ones, you could obviously then just layer those up, and straight away you've got a much more interesting kind of fuller flower. So again, I'll just take my hot glue just for kind of speed. Let me just pop that in there. And obviously, you know, because these have been coffee dyed, they really are much more kind of malleable and kind of, you know, pliable. And so I can really kind of pull them around and change their shape, which is really good for when you're kind of trying to make slightly more, I suppose, textured kind of flowers, and the ones that kind of look really quite vintage. So if I've got those, and then we'll just do a couple of these gorgeous purple ones. Like that. That one there. I mean, don't those purple ones look gorgeous? And if I just pull in a purple one, how it started, just to kind of give you an idea. I mean, don't they look just so pretty now? They just look lovely, don't they? And then again, you know, and it's all completely up to you. But if you want to kind of then distress ink around it, you know, to kind of just give it something more, then you can. You know, if you wanted to kind of add something else, like some glitter or something, then of course, you know, you could do that. I'll just kind of distress ink this one. But they just look so pretty, and just that coffee dyeing has kind of made them feel and even sound completely different. You know, they no longer look kind of just basic little flowers, if you see what I mean. So, for instance, this one, could just pop that little gold button in, and that just looks so pretty. So I'll just literally pop a bit of hot glue there. Oops. There we go. I mean, doesn't that look so pretty? And then this one, I'm not sure what I'm going to put in the middle of that. Let me just quickly have a look around. I did have a purpley coloured flat back pearl, but I have got no hope, obviously, of finding that now for this video. So you could obviously pop a gem in the middle, perhaps pop that button. That's quite pretty. I'm not going to be able to now find something quite right poor planning, obviously, on my part. So, I can't see anything that looks quite as I'd like to use. I have got this tiny little one, which is actually quite red. So maybe not there. Oh, I wish I'd now searched out that little purple flatback pearl before I'd started the video, you see. Because I only had one or two of them. But you could obviously just finish it off with, you know, with a pearl. I'm not going to stick that in because after the video I am going to try and hunt down the purple flatback one, because I think that would look really pretty. But again, you know, as you can see, that's gone from kind of that to that. Looks so much better, doesn't it? And you know, I think these have their place. I'm not kind of slating them, but this just looks really, really pretty. So anyway, that's kind of a bit of a just quick, you know, super quick paper flowers tutorial there. Just having a bit of a play, and you know, obviously we've done the die cut Tim Holtz Tattered Florals flower there. We've done another junk journal one using the 4 circles, and then obviously we've done these ones with the kind of layered up method there, you know, using the layered up shop bought flowers. So I hope that you got some ideas from that and a bit of inspiration. Yeah, I mean, I just think another kind of quite fun thing to do with flowers. Probably after this, I've just got literally one other thing that I really have got in mind for the series. And then I've got something planned for the final episode. So I'm kind of working towards that, and I've got kind of a project on the go that I'm kind of, you know, working towards to finish the series, hopefully in a kind of nice rounded off way. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed it. Thank you so much to those people who've left lovely comments. I really, really appreciate your support. And I hope you all have a nice day. Thanks then. Bye.